Coming up on Jerusalem Dateline, surveying the damage to Iran's nuclear capability and looking ahead to possibilities for a new Gaza. Plus, escalating threat levels in the U.S., agencies mobilized to prevent strikes by Iranian sleeper cells and cyber attacks. And the Iron Beam, how Israel is taking self-defense to new levels and slashing the costs. Samaritan's Purse standing with first responders. All this and more coming up on this edition of Jerusalem Dateline. Hello and welcome to this edition of Jerusalem Dateline. I'm Julie Stahl. 2 weeks ago, Israelis awoke to Operation Rising Lion, with Israel attacking Iranian nuclear sites, military leaders, and nuclear scientists. For 12 days, Israel, and later the U.S., targeted Iranian nuclear sites, while Israelis were prepared at a moment's notice to head to the bomb shelter. Now the success of the operation is being debated, and Israel and the U.S. say they have a plan to bring peace to the Middle East. And at the moment, a ceasefire between Iran and Israel is in place. Here are some of the highlights from this eventful week. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth is blasting media outlets for playing up an early leaked report that suggested U.S. strikes on Iranian nuclear facilities did only limited damage.
In hunting for scandals all the time, in trying to find wedges and spin stories, this press corps and the press corps miss historic moments. President Trump directed the most complex and secretive military operation in history, and it was a resounding success, resulting in a ceasefire agreement and the end of the 12-day war.
Last night, CIA Director John Ratcliffe and Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard released statements that intelligence indicates that the strikes did severe damage to the nuclear sites.
CIA continues to collect additional reliably sourced information to keep appropriate decision makers fully informed. Those that understand, those that see, those that do proper assessments recognize that what the United States military did was historic.
Speaking at the NATO summit in the Netherlands Wednesday, President Trump challenged reports that the Iranians may have carted off large amounts of enriched uranium before the U.S. bombed the Fordo facility.
We've collected additional intelligence. We've also spoken to people who have seen the site, and the site is obliterated, and we think everything nuclear is down there. They didn't take it out.
Trump announced U.S. officials will meet with the Iranians next week, though he no longer believes a nuclear agreement is necessary. Trump's Special Mideast Envoy Steve Witkoff says Iran must give up any plans to ever again enrich uranium and weaponize it. He also announced the Abraham Accords will soon expand, with surprising nations expected to join and make peace with Israel.
We're hoping for normalization across an array of countries that maybe people would have never would have never contemplated would come in.
Meanwhile, Trump is turning his sights from Iran to Israeli prosecutors who are trying Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, calling it a witch hunt. Trump posted that Netanyahu has fought harder than anyone to protect Israel, and he deserves much better than this, and so does the state of Israel. Bibi Netanyahu's trial should be canceled immediately. CBN News spoke with Israelis in Beersheba at the site of Tuesday's missile strike. Police spokesman Dean Elsden says Israelis are resilient.
We're not a scared nation, and the second thing I wanted to tell you is to thank you for your support and all your viewers' support.
Israeli Christian Arab Yosef Haddad thanked President Trump profusely for backing Israel and entering the war. And he had a message.
Finish the job. Eliminate the IRGC, free Iran, and bring security to the Israeli people, bring security and stability to the Middle East, and you will bring security to the United States.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says he and President Trump have a plan to bring broad and peaceful changes to the Middle East, made possible by the humbling of Iran in the 12-day war.
This victory opens up an opportunity for a dramatic expansion of the peace agreements. We're working on this vigorously. Along with the release of our hostages and the defeat of Hamas, there's a window of opportunity here that must not be missed. Not even a single day must be wasted.
The leaders envision a halt to the Gaza war in 2 weeks, with Israel ending its military campaign and Hamas releasing the remaining 50 hostages. Hamas leaders would go into exile and 4 Arab nations would rule Gaza together. Major roadblocks could derail the plan. Hamas leaders refuse to leave Gaza, and Arab nations insist the Palestinian Authority have a role in governing a post-Hamas Gaza, a condition Israel refuses to accept. The U.S. and Israel are also signaling more Arab states are ready to join the Abraham Accords, bringing peace between the Jewish nation and millions more Muslims in the region. Thursday, top Trump administration officials gave senators a classified briefing on the destruction of Iran's nuclear program. However, Democrat and Republican senators came away with opposite impressions.
It still appears that we have only set back the Iranian nuclear program by a handful of months.
They blew these places up in a major league way. Major league setback, years, not months.
The International Atomic Energy Agency says the uranium-enriching centrifuges deep underground at Fordo are no longer operational. As for the rest of Iran's nuclear program,
C'est vrai que annihilation, total destruction, etc. I don't know. What I can tell you, and I think everyone agrees on this, there is very, very, very considerable damage.
Iran's supreme leader, in his first public statement in nearly 2 weeks, is downplaying the U.S. strikes. He says, quote, they failed to do anything significant. And he's claiming a huge victory over Israel. In Gaza, the State Department is coming alongside the U.S. and Israeli-backed Gaza Humanitarian Foundation by giving $30 million and asking other countries to donate.
A track record of distributing over 46 million meals distributed to date, all while preventing Hamas looting, is absolutely incredible and should be commended and supported.
In other news, Israel and America have reportedly given Iran an ultimatum to either surrender whatever enriched uranium they still have or face new military strikes. If Iranian leaders won't comply with the demand, Israel promises to quickly strike the regime again with overwhelming force. On a lighter note, when America partnered with Israel to strike Iran's nuclear operations, most Israelis felt a sense of relief. Here's what Jerusalemites told our social media team. And to see more content like this, check out Jerusalem Dateline on our social media channels.
Donald Trump was standing right here. What would you say to him?
I will kiss him.
I not know so good English, but
I'm not sure.
Hey, I'm Joshua Swanson on the streets of Jerusalem for CBN's Jerusalem Dateline, asking people what they think about Donald Trump.
The best. I will give you a hug.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, he's the best.
He might hug you back. He seems like a hugger. What would you say to him?
FC.
I would say thank you for your help and keep it going.
Thank him for what he's doing. He's being supportive of Israel, even though there's all the flack that he's getting from everybody else about whether he should have joined or shouldn't have joined. I don't know why that's really a conversation. Thank you. I'm an American. I voted for Donald Trump, and I'm glad they got involved because it's always helpful to have a bigger guy that has your back. You know what I'm saying? We're not exactly the biggest guy.
I'm glad something's happening for Israel finally, and I mean, we're
Philippines.
feel like the differences and levels of restriction. So, like you see the impact right away of what's happening and how America's getting involved, and then what happens here. So it definitely makes things a little tighter, but we're hoping long term that means that things are going to get better.
But it should make it more, you know what I mean?
Do more.
Because if not next 10, 15 years, it will be beginning back.
Yeah. Do you feel safer here in Israel now?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, he's good. He's good. Best thing he did.
Have you seen a change in Israel since Trump entered the war?
No, the people like him. You can see the people love Trump and support him, but listen, it's not enough. You see, still in the morning we have bombs, you know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Do you feel safe?
I would say like Trump just has to like get his hands on everything, but it's cute. It's nice. Very cute of him.
It's cute. That's the best. That is the best political description I've heard all day.
It's like a lot of words to describe this, but like in one word,
Cute. In one word, Donald Trump, cute. For sure. Did you feel a shift after the U.S. got involved in the war?
Yeah, definitely. Like, it felt like it was being taken more seriously, and that people got that this is like a really big deal.
When you're in America, it feels kind of distant and not as scary. And I'm like, this is our first time here in the war because we're just visiting. So yeah, you realize how intense it is.
Do you feel better now that Donald Trump?
Yeah. Biden is the.
Yeah, a lot better.
Yeah, better.
God bless America.
At 1740 Eastern Time on June 21st, 2025, a 30,000-pound chunk of hardened steel and explosives fell through the Iranian night at 700 miles per hour. In exactly 43 seconds, the GBU-57 massive ordnance penetrator will punch through 200 feet of reinforced concrete and granite on its way to make the newest parking lot in Iran, the Fordo Nuclear Enrichment Facility. Buried so deep that conventional bombs might as well be firecrackers, is about to learn firsthand why Americans don't have free healthcare. How exactly this bomb ended up here is a testament to the most amazing and well-choreographed military operations in over 20 years. 18 hours earlier, the ground crew at Whitman Air Force Base works frantically around this aircraft, one of only 19 operational B-2s in existence. Each bomber cost $2.1 billion. That's billion with a B, making it literally worth more than its weight in gold. The crew chief runs through the pre-flight checklist. 14 GBU-57 mobs loaded on rotary launchers. Conformal fuel tanks topped off with 180,000 pounds of JP-8, and the APQ-181 radars in each bird are in full stealth mode. At 001 Eastern Standard Time on Saturday, June 21st, the first B-2 rolls down Whitman's 12,400-foot runway. The Spirit's 4 General Electric F-118 engines produce 17,300 pounds of thrust each. Whisper quiet compared to conventional jets, but still powerful enough to lift 336,500 pounds of airplane and ordnance right into the night sky. The pilot maintains a shallow takeoff profile to minimize the infrared signature. Even friendly satellites shouldn't see too much. But not all of these B-2s are destined for Iran tonight. 7 B-2s would launch eastward toward Iran, while another group headed west toward the Pacific. The deception was simple but brilliant. Russian and Chinese satellites tracking the westbound group would report B-2 movements toward Guam, creating diplomatic noise and intelligence confusion. Meanwhile, the real strike package ghosted eastward into the Atlantic darkness. The Atlantic crossing is where things start to get a bit sporty. B-2s can fly 6,000 nautical miles without refueling, but that's with internal fuel only. The conformal tanks add range, but also drag, cutting that to about 4,500 miles. From Missouri to Iran and back, that's 14,200 miles. The math doesn't work without tankers. The first aerial refueling happens around 0400 over the mid-Atlantic. Now, connecting a refueling probe in daylight is like threading a needle. At night, in turbulence, with both aircraft flying at 400 knots, that's like threading a needle while riding a mechanical bull in a dark closet. The boom operator extends the flying boom from the KC-135 tanker. The B-2 pilot has to maintain an exact position, 30 feet behind, 15 feet below, with 0 lateral deviation. One tiny mistake can cause irreparable damage that causes this bomber to divert back home. Because of this, the pilot flies with surgical precision, taking on fuel at a rate of 1,000 pounds per minute, while the boom operator sweats bullets, despite the freezing stratosphere outside. By 15:30 Eastern Standard Time, after 2 more refuelings and 15.5 hours of flight, the strike package approaches Iraqi airspace, and this is where the real fun begins. 4 F-22 Raptors materialize from what seems like an empty sky. They're APG-77 radars, painting everything within 200 miles, while remaining virtually invisible themselves. The lead Raptor pilot checks in with brevity codes that would sound like gibberish to anyone listening. Disco 47, sweet, picture clean, no factor. Translation, the skies ahead are clear of threats. These 4 F-22s you see escorting these bombers are pure air superiority, loaded with 6 AMRAAMs and 2 Sidewinders each, ready to splash any Iranian fighter brave enough to take off. Behind them, 8 F-35s bring up the rear. The Iranian Air Force might be decent, but against 2 squadrons of 5th-generation fighters, they might as well stay home. At 18:39 local time, the lead B-2 begins its attack run. The pilot enables the GPS-aided targeting system, which talks to multiple satellites simultaneously to achieve accuracy within 5 feet. The rotary launcher in the forward weapons bay spins up, positioning the first mob for release. Below, the Fordo facility sits under 300 feet of mountain, protected by granite that's been here since before humans invented the wheel. In about 60 seconds, the U.S. military will change up the geography a bit. But these are not the only units dropping warheads on foreheads this evening. 2 hours earlier, at 1700 Eastern Standard Time, 1,200 miles from where the B-2s are approaching Iranian airspace, the captain stands in the control room of a guided missile submarine, probably the USS Georgia, and watches the digital countdown on the tactical display. The Georgia isn't like any other submarine in the world. Originally built as an Ohio-class ballistic missile submarine carrying nuclear-tipped tridents, she was converted into an SSGN, a guided missile submarine at a cost of $700 million. Where she once carried 24 nuclear ballistic missiles, she now packs 154 Tomahawk land attack missiles. That's more cruise missile firepower than an entire carrier strike group's complement of DDGs and cruisers can carry. The Tomahawk Block 5 in Georgia's vertical launch tubes represents 40 years of evolution in cruise missile technology. Each missile costs $2 million and can deliver a 1,000-pound warhead up to 1,500 miles away with accuracy measured in inches, not yards.
Hi, Joris Van.
At periscope depth, about 60 feet
Thank you
below
for
the
coming.
surface, the Georgia is vulnerable. Her
Where are you
ANBBS-1
watching right
photonics
now?
mast breaks the surface like a metallic periscope, creating a radar return that any competent operator should spot. But the Iranians are looking in the wrong place. Their coastal radars are focused on the Persian Gulf's narrow waters, not the deeper waters where the Georgia lurks. However, launching missiles from underwater isn't like a video game. Each Tomahawk sits in a canister filled with high-pressure gas. When the launch command arrives, an explosive charge breaks the canister seal, and gas pressure literally shoots the missile out of the tube like a cork from a champagne bottle. The missile breaks the surface at 50 feet per second until the solid rocket booster ignites and sends it climbing into the night sky. But Newton's third law is a harsh mistress. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. When you punch a 3,000-pound missile out of a submarine, the submarine wants to go the other direction, down. The ballast control team must compensate in real time, pumping water between trim tanks to maintain the desired depth. Too slow and the submarine broaches, showing itself to every radar within 50 miles. Too fast and she plunges below safe operating depth. At 16:05 Eastern Time, the first Tomahawk erupts from the ocean surface. The solid rocket booster burns for 12 seconds, accelerating the missile to 550 miles per hour while climbing to cruise altitude. The booster falls away, and the Williams F-107 turbofan engine takes over, basically a miniature jet engine that pushes the missile at high subsonic speed. By 16:06, all 30 missiles are airborne. Each missile's ANDPW-23 radar altimeter maintains precise height above terrain, sometimes as low as 100 feet, while the guidance system compares stored satellite imagery with what it's actually seeing. It's like having Google Maps that can't be jammed, spoofed, or confused. The flight time to Isfahan from here is 127 minutes. That timing isn't random. It's precisely calculated to arrive 30 minutes before the B-2 strikes, softening air defenses and creating chaos for the main attack. While Iranian air defenses focus on the high-altitude stealth bombers, 30 sea-launched cruise missiles will be sneaking through the back door at treetop height. The captain watches as the missiles disappear over the horizon. Each one shows as a blue triangle with a countdown timer. The submarine's role in Operation Midnight Hammer is complete, but the weapons she's launched are just getting started. The Block 5's two-way satellite data link means these aren't just flying bombs. They're reconnaissance assets. As they fly toward Isfahan, they're transmitting imagery back through satellite relays, giving real-time battle damage assessment capability. the Georgia begins her descent back to patrol depth, vanishing into the thermocline where temperature differences bend sound waves and make acoustic detection nearly impossible. Above her, 30 cruise missiles are making history. But there is one more thing America has launched before the B-2 bombers enter Iranian airspace tonight. At 1600 Eastern Standard Time, a massive fighter sweep accelerates ahead of the B-2 formation. Over 60 aircraft, forming the largest coordinated sea package since Iraqi freedom. 4 F-22 Raptors lead at 50,000 feet, followed by 8 F-35As at 35,000 feet. Several dozen FA-18 Super Hornets at 25,000 feet, and 4 EA-18G Growlers bringing up the electronic warfare element. Behind them, dozens more F-18s are orbiting the Gulf, ready to go in if things get hairy, while multiple KC-135 and KC-46 tankers loiter in Iraqi airspace, and an RC-135 rivet joint aircraft vacuums up every electronic emission within 500 miles. Here's the tactical calculus that drove the loadout planning. The F-35s remained in a pure air-to-air configuration, each equipped with 4 AMRAAMs, serving as stealthy forward sensors. The real seed punch came from 3 dozen FA-18 Super Hornets, spread across multiple squadrons, with some carrying 3 HARMs, others loaded for air-to-air, and others configured for escort. The Super Hornet force provided considerable magazine depth, over 60 HARMs available if needed. Combined with 8 HARMs from the Growlers, the package could engage every radar in Iran twice over, but they'd only expend what they needed. The F-35s would find the radars, the Super Hornets and Growlers would take them out, while the F-22s took care of any Iranian fighters that dared to get in the way. The strike package spreads across a 60-mile front, creating overlapping fields of electronic surveillance. F-35s use their AN/ASQ-239 electronic warfare suites to passively map Iranian air defenses while remaining electromagnetically invisible. When they detect a threat, they pass targeting data via Link 16 to the Super Hornets, who can engage from standoff range without compromising the F-35's
It's all about the challenges.
50 miles south, the EA-18G
Ghost
Growlers
bomber.
initiate their electronic symphony. Each aircraft's 3 ALQ-99 pods pump out 30 kilowatts of jamming power across multiple bands simultaneously. Iranian radar operators watch their screens fill with false returns, phantom aircraft appearing and disappearing, ranges that shift randomly, bearings that make no sense. It's information warfare at the speed of light.
Oh no.
At 1732, an S-300 battery near Natanz breaks emissions control. Its 30N6E2 fire control radar attempting to burn through the jamming. The moment it transmits, 3 separate aircraft have firing solutions. An F-35 detects it first through passive sensors. A Super Hornet receives the data link and launches an AGM-88G, while the Growler simultaneously targets it for reactive jamming. The HARM accelerates to Mach 2.5, its millimeter wave seeker memorizing the radar's location. Even when the S-300 operators realize their mistake and shut down 15 seconds later, it's too late. The missile's GPS-INS guidance puts the 146-pound warhead within 10 meters of the radar vehicle. The explosion transforms a $100 million air defense system into burning scrap metal. The Super Hornets work in pairs, one designating targets while the wingman engages. When mobile SA-15 systems attempt to relocate, F-35 sensors track their movements through infrared signatures, vectoring the Super Hornets for quick intercepts. The integration between 4th and 5th generation fighters proves devastating. Stealth platforms serve as sensors, while legacy fighters act as shooters. By 1735, the SEED mission had expended 31 HARMs, achieving an equal number of radars and SAM sites destroyed. More importantly, every surviving radar has gone silent. The psychological effect multiplies the kinetic damage. Iranian operators, trained to fear American SEED capabilities since Desert Storm, choose survival over duty. The Growlers shift to communications jamming, targeting military frequencies from VHF through UHF bands. Ground-controlled intercept frequencies go silent. SAM site coordination channels fill with static. Even Iranian cell phone networks in the target areas experience disruption as military jammers spill over into civilian bands. The F-22s maintain high cover. Their APG-77 radars searching for any brave Iranian pilot who might launch.
Oh, I'm from
None
the
do.
Philippines.
The Super Hornets,
Muslim.
all carrying harms, orbit in boxes assigned by the mission planners. The F-35s continue their electronic surveillance, building a real-time map of every surviving air defense asset for future strikes. At 17:39 Eastern Time, with the corridor sanitized and silent, the B-2s begin their run. The 125 aircraft armada has created a highway 50 miles wide and 200 miles deep, where American aircraft operate with impunity. Not a single missile has been fired at coalition aircraft. Not one Iranian fighter has taken off. By 1740, the bomb bay doors of the first B-2 are opening.
Afternoon here in the
Kick off
UAE.
the main event of tonight's show. At exactly 1740 Eastern Time, the first GBU-57 massive ordnance penetrator falls free from the lead B-2's weapons bay. For a moment, it hangs there in the thin air at 45,000 feet. GPS receivers acquiring satellite locks, tail fins deploying with mechanical precision. Then gravity takes over, and 30,000 pounds of hardened steel and high explosives
BM where?
begin its date with the laws of physics.
In Australia?
The pilot feels the aircraft jump slightly as the weight releases. The B-2's fly-by-wire system compensates instantly, but losing 30,000
It's nighttime
pounds,
there?
about the weight of 3 school buses, creates a distinctive sensation. His weapons systems officer confirms
It's 1
what the
p.m.
instruments
here.
already show. Bird away. Good
Here in
separation.
the UAE.
GPS lock confirmed. But here's the brutal mathematics of bunker busting. Kinetic energy equals half the mass times velocity squared. That mop will impact at 700 miles per hour, delivering 1.5 billion joules of energy, roughly equivalent to a freight train hitting a wall. The hardened steel penetrator, forged from the same alloys used in tank armor, will punch through 200 feet of reinforced concrete or 40 feet
It's
of
summer
solid
here
granite.
in the
The
UAE.
Fordo facility sits under both. At 1740 and 43 seconds, exactly 43 seconds after release, the first mop strikes. Impact creates a localized earthquake registering 2.3 on the Richter scale. But the weapon doesn't detonate on impact. That would waste its potential. Instead, the smart fuse counts down as the penetrator bores through rock and concrete, waiting for the precise moment of maximum effect.
Yeah.
The warhead, 5,300 pounds of tritonal explosive, detonates
Fighting more.
180 feet underground, creating a cavity 30
Enzo.
feet in diameter. The overpressure
Good
wave
afternoon,
travels
Timo.
through solid rock at 15,000
Where are you
feet
watching
per
right
second,
now?
finding every crack, every seam, every structural weakness. Concrete designed to withstand 10,000 psi meets forces exceeding 100,000 psi. It just doesn't crack. It literally turns to powder. But one mob isn't enough. The mission planners know this. That's why 12 are slated for Fordo. Each impact point is calculated to create overlapping shock
Come on,
waves, turning the
Hasim.
mountain's strength against itself. The remaining B-2s follow in
Thank you
sequence,
anyway.
each
Thank you for
releasing their
coming.
mops at precisely calculated intervals. From the ground, it would look like artificial meteor strikes, flashes of light followed by thunder that rolls across the mountains. At Natanz, the strike profile is
not
different.
World War
Only 2 mobs target this facility because it's not as deeply buried. The weapons officers actually have to delay the release to ensure proper spacing. Dropping 2 30,000-pound bombs too close together would reduce effectiveness as their blast waves interfere destructively. Meanwhile, 700 miles away, the Tomahawks launched from the USS Georgia enter their terminal phase. Each missile nose camera activates, comparing what it sees with stored imagery. The ANDPW-23 Scene Matching System achieves lock, and the missiles make final course corrections. They've been flying for 2 hours, burning through 350 pounds of fuel, following terrain like 20-foot-long homing pigeons. At Isfahan, the night shift workers hear them coming. Williams F-107 turbofans produce a distinctive whine at 550 miles per hour. But hearing them and stopping them are different problems entirely. The facility's Tor M1 point defense systems, already confused by American jamming, try desperately to achieve lock. their engagement envelope is only 12 kilometers. At Tomahawk cruising speed,
Good
that's less than
afternoon. Thank you
49
for
seconds
coming.
from detection to impact. The first Tomahawk strikes the
Hasim,
hexafluoride storage building
where are
at
you watching right
19:05
now?
Eastern Standard Time. Its 1,000-pound unitary warhead designed for maximum blast effect. The explosion doesn't just destroy, it aerializes tons
Johnny
of
Cash,
uranium
where are
and
you now?
hexafluoride, creating a toxic cloud that makes the facility uninhabitable. The next 29 missiles arrive over the following 45 seconds, each targeting specific buildings identified through years of intelligence work. The B-2s are already turning for home. Their fuel calculations showing exactly 180,000 pounds remaining, enough to reach their tankers with regulation reserves.
Thank you.
Behind them, 3 nuclear facilities burn in the night. Total time over target, 25 minutes. Not a single surface-to-air missile was launched. Not one Iranian fighter even attempted to get off the ground. The element of surprise was total. The mission execution was flawless. In the space of less than half an hour, Iran's nuclear program just got set back to square one. In 25 minutes, the U.S. military did what 7 prior presidential administrations couldn't do.
I'm old.
Take away Iran's nuclear capabilities for good.
Don't ever
Bye
ask
for now.
again. I'm old. Okay.
At exactly 17:23
I'm really old.
on June 5th,
Am I?
2025, an Israeli F-16I pilot received the 3-word message that
See?
would shatter the evening
My
calm
hair
of
is
Egg
gray.
al-Ada. Time to go.
Because I'm old
Within
now.
minutes, 4 of Israel's most advanced fighter jets would deliver the most brazen
Smell old
escalation
my
yet.
hair.
Precision strikes to Beirut's densely populated suburbs on the eve of Islam's holiest celebration. The pilot had been strapped into his cockpit for 12 minutes. The Pratt & Whitney F-100 engine idling as ground crews completed final weapons checks. Beneath each wing hung 2 Rafael Spice 2000 guided bombs, 4,000 pounds of precision munitions that could thread through a specific window from 60
You're
kilometers
wrong,
away.
son.
But tonight's mission would require
You're not
something
good in
far more
guessing.
dangerous than long-range precision. They'd have to get close enough to see their targets burn tonight. The F-16I Safa was the only choice for the urban strikes. These single-engine, multi-role fighters excel at the kind of precision work Beirut's dense neighborhoods demand. Their superior agility allows rapid target transitions in cluttered airspace. More importantly, the F-16I's fuel efficiency permits their extended loiter time, critical when you need to hold for 60 minutes while civilians evacuate. At 17:24, the formation leader advances
You're not
the
good in
throttles.
guessing.
The F-100 PW-229 engine responded instantly, generating over 29,000 pounds of thrust. Despite having the massive payload, the heavily loaded F-16I accelerates down Ramat David's runway at 165 knots. His wingman follows 10 seconds later. Then the second pair
what
at
is this?
identical intervals. By 17:26,
Cesar?
all 4 jets
Cesar
are
Black?
airborne, climbing through 10,000 feet in a precisely staggered formation. The mission profile demands surgical timing. 8 targets are spread across Beirut's southern suburbs, Hadad, Heret Harik, and
I'm here in the
Abarasheh,
UAE, but I'm
plus
from the
2 more in
Philippines.
South Lebanon. Each aircraft carries enough ordnance for 2 targets, meaning
And
0 margin for
Cesar.
error. Miss 1 release window, abort
Cesar
1
Block.
run, and the entire
Thank you for
strike package
coming.
unravels. By
On the
17:42, exactly 60 minutes before
Thank
the
you.
first bomb falls,
Hi.
Israeli military spokesman Avijay Adrei begins posting on social media. These are not encrypted military channels or diplomatic back channels, but on Twitter and Telegram. The warnings include satellite photos with
Thank you,
red
everyone.
circles around specific buildings, telling anyone there that those buildings will be Beirut's latest parking lots in the next hour.
Hi,
This
Oscar.
isn't psychological warfare. It's legal compliance with a tactical twist. International law suggests warning civilians when feasible.
Yes,
and Israel
Oscar.
documents every warning for potential future tribunals. But those 60 minutes create predictable patterns that military planners exploit. Traffic flows become rivers of intelligence. Which buildings empty immediately? Which see
What do
frantic
you mean,
vehicle loading?
Oscar?
Which remain suspiciously calm? All of this information is valuable. The pilots
I'm
stay in a holding
fine.
pattern at 28,000 feet, monitoring encrypted tactical frequencies as intelligence updates flow from reconnaissance assets. Drone footage shows the evacuation in real time, cars fleeing certain buildings while others remain untouched.
fine,
confirming
Oscar.
Israeli targeting intelligence.
With
Now,
the
all they had
boys.
to do is wait 60
Hi, with
minutes
the
before
boys.
dropping one of Israel's most
From where are
potent
you?
weapons.
Where
The
are you
Raphael
watching right now?
Spice 2000 you see hanging from each F-16I's wing represents the convergence of 3 technological
Thank you,
revolutions in one
Marklin. You're
2,000-pound package.
here.
At $200,000
Thank
per
you.
unit, these bombs cost
I'm
about as
listening
much
to
as a
the
G-Wagon.
news
But unlike
right now
Mercedes-Benz,
because
the
I'm
military
off.
isn't paying for a
It's my
brand
day
name.
off.
They're paying for what lies inside these bombs. Traditional guided bombs rely on GPS. Spoof the coordinates, and that expensive bomb can't hit
Thank
the
you,
right side of a
Power.
barn. But the Spice 2000 is not your normal bomb. Its
Power.
primary navigation uses GPS,
Power
sure,
Q.
but that's just the beginning. Inside the nose section,
Powerhouse
2 more
Q.
guidance
This is
systems
Powerhouse
work
Q.
flawlessly, each backing up the others.
Mason to
The
hate.
inertial navigation system
Oh,
uses
good night,
ring laser
Mason.
gyroscopes spinning at 400 hertz, precisely measuring rotation that makes Rolex look like a Temu watch. 3 accelerometers track every movement in 3 dimensions, calculating position based on the fundamental laws of physics. No outside signals are needed. Even if every GPS satellite suddenly vanished, the INS alone can put the
Israel
bomb within
fighter
30
jets
meters of its
hits.
target. But the next system is where Israeli engineering gets scary. The
Yeah, I'm from the
electro-optical scene
Philippines
matching
and I'm working
technology
here in
turns
the
the bomb
UAE.
into a robot with perfect memory. During each
How
mission
about
planning,
you?
operators upload
Mark?
high-resolution satellite imagery of the target area. Every building, every street corner, and every distinctive feature within a square kilometer.
My
As the
neck?
bomb
What?
falls, its
What's
nose
my neck?
camera shoots 60 frames per second, comparing what it sees to what it remembers.
In the
The
US, why
processing
don't
power
you
required
listen to
is
music
staggering.
much
The
better?
Spice's computer runs image recognition
Oh,
algorithms that would have
what
required
music?
a supercomputer in the 1990s. Edge detection identifies building outlines.
A while ago, I'm watching movies.
Contrast
Now I'm
analysis
listening to this
distinguishes
news.
targets from backgrounds, all while falling at 300 meters per second. And unfortunately for these bad guys, their time is up. At 1800 hours, the holding pattern breaks. 4 F-16Is bank east in perfect synchronicity, descending through 20,000 feet as they accelerate towards the Lebanese coast. Beneath their
Croatia.
bellies, the Raphael Sky
Hi,
Shield electronic
Croatia.
warfare pods wake from standby mode. Their threat libraries contain the
Hi from
electronic fingerprint
Croatia.
of every radar system from here to Tehran. The Lebanese Air Defense Network, a hodgepodge of Soviet-era systems, some French units, and recent Chinese imports, light up like a Christmas tree. The aging P-18 spoon rest radar at Tyre pushes out its distinctive VHF pulses. A more modern Chinese JY-27A south of Sidon joins the chorus. Multiple fire control radars probe the sky, searching for something to lock onto. What they find defies physics. The lead F-16I appears to be at 15,000 feet, heading north at 350 knots. Simultaneously, it's at 25,000 feet, heading east at 550 knots. A third return shows
It's
it diving
good.
through 5,000 feet. The Sky Shield pod isn't just jamming, it's lying with mathematical precision. Inside each pod, the digital radio frequency memory system performs electronic alchemy. When the P-18 radar pulse hits 150 megahertz, the DRFM captures it perfectly. Frequency, pulse, width, modulation, everything. Then, it retransmits multiple versions, each slightly modified. Delay 1 by 3 microseconds, and the radar thinks you're 900 meters farther away. Shift the frequency by 200 hertz, and your speed looks wrong. Combine multiple false returns, and the operator's screen looks like a 4-year-old's drawing. As this continues, the pilots monitor their radar warning receivers as new threats appear. An SA-6 straight flush radar paints them from the Bekaa Valley, that distinctive high-pitched warble in their headsets. The Sky Shield automatically categorizes it as a priority threat, allocating more jamming power to its frequency band. The RWR symbol changes from solid to dashed. Lock broken. But the real genius happens when all 4
Hi,
aircraft coordinate
Elvito.
their jamming.
What?
The formation leader's
Anong
aircraft
hala?
designates itself as the Lighthouse, broadcasting powerful jamming on all major threat frequencies.
Giovanni
Run their
Martinez, hello.
pods in Firefly mode, quick bursts of jamming that appear and disappear randomly. To the Lebanese radar operators, it looks like an entire squadron
Anong
is out
hala?
there. maybe 2.
Maybe hello?
Ground controllers
Bakit
at
hala?
Beirut Air Traffic Control watch their scopes in confusion. Civilian transponders show
Ah,
Boeing,
hello.
a Middle East Airlines flight climbing out on
Hi,
schedule. But
Taita.
military primary returns dance across their screens in
Thank you,
impossible patterns.
Giovanni.
Ghost formations appear from nowhere, streak across the scope at Mach 2, and then vanish. Real contacts hide among false ones like needles in electronic haystacks.
Thank you, everyone.
At 1812, the F-161s reach the release point. The Lebanese capital spreads below them. The formation splits into 2 elements. The lead and his wingman vector
Oh
toward
my
Hadad
gosh.
and Haret Harek. The second
Hi,
pair
Samia.
angles south toward Borja Barajane. Each pilot runs through the
Oh,
same checklist.
really?
Master arm on.
Dale
Weapons selected.
Usury.
Release mode
Thank you
confirmed.
so much.
The Lightning
Where
targeting
are you
pods
watching right
move to
now,
their first
Dale?
targets. Infrared sensors cutting through the evening haze like it doesn't exist. In their headsets, the pilots hear Lebanese search radars growing more frantic. Pulse repetition frequencies increase. Scatter patterns tighten. Someone down there knows something's wrong, but can't pinpoint what. The electronic
My
bubble holds,
God.
keeping the F-16s hidden in plain sight.
Rofi, hi, good morning. Good afternoon pala.
By 1818, lead pilot Pickles his first Spice 2000. The Bombay
No,
acoustic sensor registers
I'm not.
separation. A clean release. Immediately, the F-16 lurches upward.
Thank you,
suddenly
Dale.
2,000 pounds lighter. The pilot doesn't watch it fall. He's already banking toward the second target.
Yes,
The first
Samia,
Spice
thank
deploys
you.
its wing kit 2 seconds later, transforming from a falling chunk of metal into a guided projectile.
Posadih.
Its GPS
They
receiver
doggy.
locks onto 5 satellites. Excellent
Posadih.
geometry for a precise fix. The initial solution
Wowie.
puts it
What?
2.3 kilometers from the
Hello.
target with 43 seconds
Posadih.
to impact.
Posadih na
The
lang.
flight control computer calculates
I'm
an
fine,
intercept
Rofi.
trajectory. 15-degree left turn, 8-degree glide scope. 5 seconds later, the
Mary.
wingman releases over Haret Harek. His target, a nondescript
I'm
5-story
a
commercial
single
building
mom
that
with
Israeli
2
intelligence
kids.
says
Dale.
houses drone assembly workshops in its basement. The bomb's camera activates early, catching the evacuation chaos in
Oh, the
thermal
message. I
clarity.
cannot see these
Cars clog
messages.
every street. Hundreds of heat signatures flee on foot. Building itself glows warmer than its neighbors. Evidence of underground activity generating heat. By 18:18 and 15 seconds, 4 bombs are in flight, each pursuing its own target with robotic determination. The formation lead's second weapon aims for a Hezbollah logistics node disguised as an auto parts store. The wingman's second release
Okay,
targets
just
what
comment
appears
down
to be a
below
community center,
after
but
my
allegedly
live,
conceals
or you can just
communications
email
equipment
me.
3 floors underground. As the bomb descends through 10,000 feet, the camera activates. The familiar Beirut skyline appears. Mosque minarets, apartment
I'm here
blocks,
in the
the
UAE,
Mediterranean
Dale.
coastline. The computer matches
United
these
Arab
features against
Emirates.
its memory,
You know?
calculating
You know
precisely
UAE?
where it is. At
What's up?
5,000
Hi,
feet,
Captain.
GPS signals start getting sketchy. Lebanese electronic warfare units, probably using Russian supply systems, pump out false signals to deceive the guidance system.
No,
The
Captain.
Spice's computer notices the discrepancy immediately. GPS says it's 500 meters east of where the INS and camera think it is. Without hesitation, it ignores the GPS entirely, trusting its eyes and internal navigation. The terminal phase is where the magic happens. At 1,000 feet, the camera switches to narrow field of view mode, zooming in on the specific building. The algorithm looks for pre-programmed features, that ventilation unit on the northwest corner, the distinctive roof line, and the shape of the adjacent parking lot. When confidence hits 98%, the bomb commits to the final approach. Those fins on the tail can deflect 20
Thank
degrees
you.
in any direction, making corrections 50 times per second. Too much crosswind from the west, the fins compensate. Thermal updraft from the city, adjusted. The bomb literally flies itself to the target, threading between buildings. The fuse settings uploaded at Ramat David determine what happens next. There is an impact fuse for surface targets and a delayed fuse for penetration.